All right, welcome back to another lesson. Today we're going to be talking about dominant 7 arpeggios. And just as a reminder, I'm tuned down half a step, so if I say A, it's really going to be in the key of A flat if you're playing along, but I'm going to say A. So we're talking about arpeggios because we really need to get into mastering the fundamentals. Remember, the fundamentals include scales, chords, and arpeggios. And you're going to be using all three of them, typically, like interweaving them all. Sometimes partial chords like that. But it's important to kind of isolate each one of these. Like, for example, arpeggios. Let's just focus on arpeggios, get to know them, try to get to know them really deep, and then, we can add in the next thing, add in some chords, and kind of combine it all together. All right, so now I want to talk for a second about mastering the fretboard. This is like something you'll hear all the time from guitarists and guitar teachers. And there's kind of a paradox because on the one hand, it's great to be able to play everywhere on the neck. On the other hand, it's really important to just be able to play in one position. So, when you play up the neck, it's good because, first of all, there's different shapes can give you different sounds, just kind of the way the shape is laid out. And it's also good if you're, kind of meandering up the neck. You want to be able to know where you are. But it's also good to just be able to just play in this, the root position. So we really want to get good at just staying here. Now, there's kind of a mind shift that you have to make when you're thinking about the blues and the 1-4-5. And that's to look at all three chords like together in one position. So, root, 4, and 5. So, I've got my root arpeggio. We're in the key of A again. And then my 4. I'm ending here on the low string. We're playing through all 6 strings, but really the root's here. And it's important to know both, like where your roots are and where it starts and ends in terms of the 6th string. So again, even though we're on the 4 chord, I'm gonna show you all the shapes in a second. And then the 5 chord. All right, so when we think of this root position here, you want to think of all three. So let's just go over the basic shapes. And again, we're just trying to like isolate one thing at a time. So that's the value of not going everywhere. We'll just go a lot deeper and learn it a lot more thoroughly. There's other notes we can play, but let's just stick to one thing. So it's going to be like this. So we start on the low A, and then 2 notes on the next string, 2 notes on the next string, 1 note on the G string, 2 notes on the B string, and then the high A note there. So now this is kind of like a focus on just familiarity, just knowing it. We're not overly concerned with technique per se or speed, you can practice playing just to get some basic technique. But don't worry too much about playing fast. This is not really a position that's, this is not really geared for shredding per se. There's other things in the neck, that are more, it's geared for speed. We're not worried about speed right now. We just want to get really familiar with these shapes. Okay, so again, now hopefully you know the notes of your dominant chord. It's just going to be like a major chord, A, C sharp, E, and then your 7th degree, which is your G. So A, C sharp, E, G. All right, 4 chord is going to be the same intervals, but on the D. And we're going to start here on our low E string. So really, it's like we're hitting the 5th of that chord, 7th root. It's really important to kind of know which degrees you're hitting. So you want to learn both. This is kind of part of what it means to be going deep on it, is knowing the shapes inside and out, but then also knowing the degrees. Just going back to the root for 1 second. We could go up here, but we're not going to do that. We're just trying to narrow things down. Okay, so we got the 4 chord. And then the 5 chord, the root would be here, this shape. But we're going to start here. This is like 1 fret behind the A and the A flat. All right. And you just want to know all of those just in the root position and be able to go, from like your chord. So, yeah, that's the basic idea. Now, let's try to give you an exercise to take it one step farther. We're going to keep going in different lessons about this, but one basic thing you can do to get started is take groups of 3 strings, okay? So like our, low E, A, and D string. That's one set of strings. And then, A, D, G is the next set. So those 3, and then those 3, then your D, G, B, and then finally your G, B, and high E string. So really you have like 4, think of it as like 4 mini positions inside this root position. So you can start to see, you can carve it up a lot of different ways. And by carving it up like that, you just force yourself to know it better. So that was all on the low set of strings. So there's a couple different ways to do this. One is, trying to play a blues and kind of make it sound musical like I just did. The other is just more about just getting familiar with the shapes. So maybe that is something that would be like more natural to do first. First, just get familiar. Like, so, my 1 chord. Notice the root is on the top and the bottom here. 4 chord. And then 5 chord. So even though this is like part of the overall shape, when we learn the overall shape, our brains are just not tuned in enough to the minute details. So, our 5 chord, and you want to try to, learn them like ascending and descending. So, the root, ascending, and the descending. 4 chord, ascending, descending. 5 chord. So I think it's helpful to be aware, set the intention what you're going to do. Like, am I practicing to get familiar with the shape, or am I trying to make riffs, trying to sound musical? They're kind of two different things. And, if your brain is focused on learning the shapes, that's kind of where your focus is going to be. You're not going to have a lot of bandwidth to then make it sound musical. So you kind of want to do them separately, I think. Learn the shape first, and then once you think you know it, set that aside, then try to come up with something that sounds musical. All right, so again, you just go string by string. Let's just look at the next set of strings, the ADG. So there's my root. 4 chord. And notice the overlap between the different sets. So here, on this set of strings, your 4 chord is going to be the same shape as the lower set of strings was for the 1. So there's the 1, there's the 4. So in practice, sometimes it'll be a lot more natural to do that, to shift from one set to the other. But as an exercise, while you're learning this, try to stay within one set at a time for now. Okay, and then our 5 chord. Remember, even though the root's here, you can still go back one note to the 7th degree, which also happens to be the 4th. So sometimes I'll do that, which is just kind of walk it down to the 4th. Something like that. So let's go to the next set. So here we have the root on the low part. Again, we have that 7th. 4 chord. And then 5 chord. And then last set of strings, the highest one. Again, we always have that one, but we're not going to worry about that for now. And then 4 chord. Again, we have our 7th to root. And then 5 chord. So learn the shapes. You can try to play through 12-bar blues with it. You can actually play through a 12-bar blues both kind of in exercise mode and then also kind of in musical mode. So, there's different ways to go about it. But really at this phase, we're just trying to just really get familiar with these and just really go deep. So when you're playing blues here, we're not worried about up here. Have all our options at our fingertips. All right, so let's keep going.